You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody! Coming this Thursday when we eat some turkey. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And he always just smiles now, Mr. Keith Cheatham.
Klaus is still in the studio. Why?
She's made a
She
return.
exist there?
She's come from the cupboards.
She hibernates.
She's back alive.
She has emerged from the hole, but her soul stealing light. It's still out. She hibernates. When the light comes on, she awakens, steals the light from everywhere and the souls from the children.
It's so true, and it's like we have this whole set decorated this year.
It's pretty. You
It's
got
nice.
it a little early.
Little
I mean,
garlands.
it's not even Thanksgiving yet.
Well, there's a reason I got it a little early.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next couple weeks are a little rough for my work schedule, so I'm actually filling in. We still have shows. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But I had to prepare. In fact, see, the whole set looks great. It's just she brings it down.
Yeah, she's
The
evil.
garland, the lights are beautiful, and then
Pure
she.
evil.
But
Hiding the Santa Claus.
the Santa Claus. But no, we've got a couple weeks here that I'm working some late shifts.
Yep.
So next week's a recorded show. It's a rerun of our fun and brilliant episode 300 when the graphics changed and we got a little carried away with some of our
It was a little fun episode.
little spirits
a
on
fun
set.
episode.
It was a good episode. Fun times.
Fun.
But then we also got
We got beer.
Beer.
We like beer.
We like beer.
I think we said that a few times too.
Beer. No doubt. Well, it was quite a struggle too
I think we
because
got a little tipsy that night. So
we did.
yeah,
But Neil, it was also a journey because
Neil's fault. You're right.
Neil was
That's right.
trying to get us the beer, and there were lots of complications.
I'm glad you
But
placed the blame right where it needs to go.
It did
On
come,
Neil.
and it was much appreciated.
He even got us pretzels with it. It was a fantastic.
It was. We had
good.
beer and pretzels.
It was
was
great.
good.
It was awesome.
You know, Neil
I
contributed to
still
our
love
debauchery.
it. Was
and
that
that's great.
1985
Yeah, the
IPA?
That
85.
was so good.
That was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Neil, you could do that anytime you want, brother.
Yeah.
Just right here. What was
Anytime
it?
you
What was
feel
that
like it.
service again called?
I don't know which one he
It
used.
must not have been a good
I
one.
know there's that Grizzlies one, but I don't
That was
remember
it.
which- but I-
It was
is that the one he
Grizzly.
used?
Drizzly.
Drizzly.
It's drizzly.
Drizzly.
not Grizzly.
They have
Yeah.
a
Grizzly's like
Grizzly's
for
that bear delivery service.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's it. You get a bear delivered. So no, he got us. It was a little delayed, but it was mainly the store's fault. It wasn't Drizzly's fault.
Okay. I thought the reason I said Grizzly because their logo is a bear. That's why I got confused. But it's Drizzly,
It
but
is
their logo
Drizzly.
is a bear.
He's trying to cover his tracks.
Very clever.
No, but I mean,
Very clever on
Get
their
it?
part.
I've
Get it?
I've used not used them. I've looked through them to use them. I've just never actually purchased
Well, and
anything.
again,
so
it
I remembered
wasn't-
the logo.
It wasn't their fault. It was the store in Louisville here's fault that Neil was ordering from Boston. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You
it
can
is.
literally in a whole nother state, a whole
Yeah.
nother city, order somebody beer and send it to him. That's amazing.
Beer.
This is awesome. But no, we also have a taped segment or a taped show, I should say, for not next week, but the week after. So we
We
had to
still
have our
have
decorations up
a-
because it's Christmas.
We
By
still
then
have
it's
a
Christmas time.
Well, we're not going to miss a beat. There'll still be Christmas reviews.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we hope everybody enjoys them. We're doing a
Not tea.
little twist. Yeah, we had the happy Halloween, so we thought we'd twist Christmas, and everybody has the joyful, happy Christmas movies. We thought we'd do the ones that are a little dark, a little naughty.
Not naughty in a
Not in
that
a
kind of naughty way.
not in a Seth Rogen, Sarah Silverman
Like,
terrible,
basically
like
terrible
horror
Christmas.
films.
I don't know if anybody's seen the trailer for that yet. It looks awful. The Santa Inc. Yeah,
I did not
terrible.
watch it. I did not watch it.
it's the most uninspired. Like
I did read the comments.
yeah, those comments are spot on.
They were.
spot on. Everybody was saying it's like, oh look, it's funny because
Here's the
it's
thing.
supposed to be joyful, but they're saying curse words. yeah,
We haven't seen that with Sausage Party.
Yeah.
Which would not be made today
Which
because
is
our
funny
PC culture would go crazy.
yeah, the
Right.
like all the jokes in the trailer are very woke, and I'm like, the same people that made Sausage Party, which is extremely unwoke, has now jumped on the woke bandwagon and be like, see, look, we support these
it
people.
just
Well,
goes to
that's
show
where
you.
it's
Yeah.
popular right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about
you
what
know,
sells. It's
screw
all about
Seth
what sells.
Rogen.
Baggy
And not only
pants were
that,
popular
he
too.
has
They're not
no
anymore.
standards.
So
no
the woke thing won't
morals.
be popular too much longer. I hope. I think it's a fact.
I think
mean,
we're all hoping
We're
that.
seeing
We're
that.
starting
Netflix,
to see people wear.
Netflix won out.
People are
Yeah,
starting to
that's
wear on
true.
people.
Netflix, the person who
one
brought
of-
forth the lawsuit
not-
from
not-
the Dave
not
Chappelle incident is resigning.
Not P minor and bagels, but yeah,
No.
yeah. But the person that that helped him, that was also a part of the controversy with Netflix.
Was that his name?
Yes.
Or her name?
Yes.
Or whatever?
Its name
Was it
Yeah.
P
Beagles or
minor
bagels?
bagels? Yeah,
P minor bagels
bagels.
P
yeah,
minor bagels.
yeah.
because we came
I
up
told
with.
him I want some major I want B major donuts. So,
Yeah.
I would eat those.
but anyways, the person resigned and withdrew their charge against Netflix. So
Did you just say Netflix?
Netflix.
No,
I thought you said
Yeah.
Netflix.
So and Netflix has made a
No,
statement
that's
saying
where they're
that
going.
you know
they resigned from Netflix and are going to Netflix.
And
Yeah.
Netflix has come out and said, you know, we agreed we didn't see eye to eye and parted ways, and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, and that's
Good for you.
because Netflix stood their ground.
Yep.
They didn't give in to a vocal minority that they knew would have no bearing on them, and said, listen, we stand behind Dave Chappelle's product. I mean, we don't think he said anything that incites violence or was wrongful. I mean, it's
Nope.
it's
It just
comedy,
goes to
he
show
said.
you, if you stand up to this crowd, this vocal minority, you will not have the backlash that so many fear. Stand up to it. Stand on principle. Stand on the behalf of those who want to just be entertained.
We do it every week.
Don't give
right
in.
here
Exactly.
on Tuesday nights.
Fair point. Absolutely. And Naughty Christmas could go another way. I'm sure there are films like
well,
what
we don't
you
mean
suggested.
We should
triple
do
X
that
naughty.
next
But we're not
year.
doing
We're
that.
not, we're not doing that.
Next year we should do naughty Christmas.
I'm sure there's plenty.
Jingle balls. But no, we actually have our first Naughty Christmas film, not coming next week, but of course the first week of December, December 7th actually, and it is Santa's Sleigh.
Not
Which-
SLEIGH sleigh.
I love the wordplay. Starring the one and only Goldberg. So you know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Bill Goldberg. So tune in for that. But we got a great show packed for you tonight. Tons to get into. Obviously, our review of Ghostbusters Afterlife, which everybody should hopefully get out and see if you've not seen it. And everybody's probably wanting to see it. But we're going to get to that right away. And I just want to forewarn everybody, tonight's going to be one of those nights, okay? The actual show topics that we have, the headlines are packed full with controversy,
Yes.
and you may want to turn it off
Oh well.
because, hey, we're treading there. So I'm giving you fair warning. You may want to stick around for the review and the discussion review, but I understand if you want to tune out after. Just giving you fair warning. All about Hollywood's moral depravity. I was at Horrorwoods.
I'm out. I left.
He's gone. He's
We're
outta
both
here.
gone. We wanted to have a good, fun show talking about Ghostbusters.
We're going to get there. That's what we're getting to right now.
Yeah, but then it's just going to quickly die.
But hey,
Then
for
we're gonna
those who
talk
care
talk about woke busters.
about the future of the country and of Hollywood entertainment, you'll stay tuned in. But here, let's get to it. None other than, yes, our movie review of Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Are you troubled by strange noises in the middle of the night? Do you experience feelings of dread from your basement or attic? Have you or your family ever seen a spook, specter, or ghost? If the answer is yes, then don't waste another minute. Get in your car and go see Ghostbusters Afterlife. You won't regret it. 37 years ago, audiences would be introduced to Ghostbusters. From the minds of Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, produced and directed by Ivan Reitman, the original Ghostbusters was a smash hit and cultural phenomenon. Now Jason Reitman, son of Ivan Reitman, and accomplished director of movies such as Juno and Up in the Air, picks up the reins, or proton pack, set aside by his father, to direct Ghostbusters Afterlife. Unlike the 2016 reboot debacle, Afterlife is set within the same continuity of the original Ghostbuster films, and picks up in real time 37 years after the original. Focusing on the family of Egon Spengler, who have inherited an old abandoned farm in the middle of nowhere after Egon's passing, what they discover there will connect them to the original Ghostbusters and an evil believed to have been defeated decades ago. Hitting the right nostalgic notes while telling its own story, Ghostbusters Afterlife, also unlike the 2016 reboot, actually does justice to the original franchise, with attention to detail in all the right ways regarding the homages it makes to the past. Focusing on the grandchildren of Egon Spengler, originally played by the late Harold Ramis, Afterlife pays homage not only to the original film, but also to the man who helped bring the franchise to life. While this focus on kids has been a gripe to some audience members, I can say Ghostbusters Afterlife is more than Stranger Things with ghosts, despite the fact that Finn Wolfhard is in both properties. Afterlife places Egon squarely at the heart of the film, and his presence is greatly felt throughout. Using his grandchildren, Phoebe, played by the fantastic McKenna Grace, and Trevor, played by the aforementioned Finn Wolfhard, to reintroduce audiences to the world and tech of Ghostbusters helps reignite the nostalgia with some childlike wonder, something also aided by Paul Rudd playing Mr. Gruberson, Phoebe's teacher. Playing a little over 2 hours, the film does bog down in the middle, with so much time devoted to introducing new characters, reintroducing old concepts to audiences, and of course delivering upon the nostalgic hype with reveals of ghost traps, proton packs, and the Ecto-1. On top of the emotional centerpiece dedicated to Harold Ramis, the film takes a little too much time to get to the meat of the story. And with a climax heavily dependent upon the plot of the original film, the ending feels a tad rushed, as Reitman relies a tad too much on fans having seen the original, where each act and set piece of the first movie flows right into each other, driving the story towards its climax. The focus of Afterlife's plot feels more disjointed. And while the movie is a beautiful love letter to Ramis and his part in Ghostbusters, it's not as beautiful a love letter to the original Ghostbusters film as a whole. Ghostbusters Afterlife is still satisfying and a worthy sequel to the original. It's good and does nail plenty of nostalgic moments, but taking away the focus of Egon and the nostalgic callback to the original, we aren't left with a lot of well thought out plot. I'm not saying the story is bad by any means, just that most of the plot points in the film feel a bit too convenient. As a longtime fan who grew up watching the originals, I was happy by the film's end. While I wish the film had been a bit tighter and more focused, it does honor its past satisfyingly enough, and is genuinely funny with an endearing lead in McKenna Page. Ghostbusters Afterlife proves there is still life left in the property. I give Ghostbusters Afterlife 3 out of 4 stars.
3 out of 4 stars.
Yeah, I liked it.
For Ghostbusters Afterlife.
It is, I don't even remember what I gave the 2016 version, but it probably wasn't low. It probably wasn't low enough.
It wasn't.
Like, I have a feeling I probably gave it 2 or something.
You gave it 2.
Yeah, it deserved less than that.
It deserved half a star.
I don't know why I gave it 2.
I don't either.
Nice.
I don't either.
I think you might have even given it
Were
2.5.
you drunk? Did you drink that?
Did I give it 2.5?
I don't know.
You just looked it up. I don't believe I gave it 2.5.
You have to look it up on our website.
I'm going to look it up. I know I didn't give that thing
Man.
2.5.
What's that website name? RedMoonProductions.com?
I don't remember.
Is that a thing?
I think that's a thing. You can go there and check it out.
I gave it 3.5.
This one?
I ain't gonna be shy.
All right.
I gave it 3.5.
So you gave this one, not the 2016
This
version.
one.
Yeah,
3.5.
this one.
Okay.
No, I like this one. I think there were a few things that didn't quite do it for me, but I thought it was a very worthy successor to the originals. I love the ode to Harold Ramis. Obviously, with him being departed and being such an integral part of the originals, it was nice to see them give him that attention.
Yeah.
I just felt it bogs down a little in the middle, which I didn't mind, but then the end felt, because obviously this movie's going off the fact that you should have already seen the original, so I felt like some of the stuff going with the gatekeeper, the keymaster, and into, I don't want to spoil too much, though I kind of did just by saying their names. But some of the stuff I just felt like was really fast, and it was well done. Like, I thought all of it was brilliantly done. I just wish that they had built to it a little bit more, like climax to it. I felt like it was kind of a slow build and then all of a sudden a quick jump rather than that steady.
It could have benefited from a little bit of expose on the original. Like, if you've never seen Ghostbusters and you go into this film, you could still enjoy it thoroughly, but like in regards to the gatekeeper and the keymaster and Zool and Gozer and all of that kind of stuff, you, without seeing the first movie, you don't get the full impact of what it's like to have that being coming back 30 or 40 years later.
Right.
So I think they could have added a little bit more of a backstory so the kids know exactly what it is they're going up against.
Well, and the crazy thing is this movie's actually longer than the original, and I think for me, and again, I'm not trying to tear this movie down because it's an amazing movie. But I told Brandon, and I mentioned in the review, one thing that I noticed having watched the original right before seeing this is that every plot point and beat builds right into the next scene.
Yeah.
As it like goes all the way until you reach the climax of them on top of the high rise.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't feel like this movie kind of flowed as well as that. I'm not saying it was poorly done or bad, but some of the scenes don't really flow into the next scene. They just kind of have a little bit of disjointedness or too convenient, I think is what it felt like. Like you mentioned, like when she's practicing with the proton gun and then immediately the shed right next to him, like it's like, oh, we found a ghost.
There's something to catch with this proton
I didn't
gun.
like that as much. I didn't like that as much
agreed.
as the original, where it's like Peter Venkman, Bill Murray's character, goes to Dana's apartment, checks it out, comes back, they have the check, they buy Chinese food, and they're like, well, this is the last of our money, and then they get the call for a ghost. And I felt that flowed better, and it didn't feel like convenient that, it's like they're talking about having the last of their money, and then they get a call, which is convenient in a sense, but not in the same way that here's a ghost right here. Look at that.
Right.
So,
Well, and also too to kind of piggyback off that, there is the sense of you get a feel that the Ghostbusters in the original start to kind of learn a knack for doing this.
Yes.
And there's a montage of them catching ghosts.
There's trial and error.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like in this one because they spent a majority of the beginning of the film catching everybody up on whose family this was and this new band of characters, which was fine and it was good. And I loved the nostalgia and I loved the exposition where it's kind of explaining all of what is to come and what the buildup is.
Yeah.
However, it was the convenient parts of them either already knowing how the technology worked or just grasping on too soon. Just kind of was like, oh yeah, we'll just go ahead and take this. If you drop me into a city in the 1940s and put me in a machine shop, there's going to be things I'm scared to touch because I'm like, this is probably going to kill me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to just wander around and start flipping switches and trying things out.
Right.
And I just felt like there wasn't really that caution conveyed. And I get it. I'm not saying that it's a huge negative.
Kids don't take the same caution we do either. So.
And honestly,
But
I was
they
okay.
don't just automatically know what this button does when they push it.
They
It's
wouldn't
like-
be as cautious because they're kids, but at the same time, they wouldn't. You're right. They wouldn't automatically know how something works.
Or I would have even been okay with if their just cautious nature led the curiosity led them down to a path of trying things, and then all of a sudden one thing kind of bit them,
right?
In the butt, and it's like that way. At least that they then proceed a little bit more with caution. But it just felt like too convenient that certain things played out exactly the way they were supposed to.
Spoiler alert! I guess I don't want to say too much, but I do like how she's led down to the basement and kind of like that ode to Egon and like how that kind of guides her along the way. It would have also, I think it would have been nicer if they kept that up a little bit longer, and instead of her just finding the stuff and knowing how it worked, if it was like Egon,
an emotional scene
moment.
Yes, like you kind of see just like with the lamp shining light on things so she could find it. If you had seen like some type of like her learning how to use it because of the same scenario.
Or even it pointing to a
picture
book
or a schematic or something.
Yes.
an instruction book that he wrote or something like that.
Right.
That would have been really good.
Yeah.
So
or even like
I
I felt like even something a little bit more heartfelt or impactful even for her as his granddaughter.
I want to say I almost gave myself a heart attack just now. I did look up what I gave the original. I gave not the original, the 2016
2.5,
version.
wasn't it?
No, but
What
I
was
clicked
it?
the wrong one at first. I clicked Afterlife because it's already on our website.
You thought you gave it 3?
And it said 3, and I was like, "What the hell is wrong with me?" And then I saw Afterlife, and I was like, "Oh, it's this one. It's this one." So I did give it the 2016 version 2 stars, but I would like to retract that and go for 1 because I hate that movie.
Yeah, it's terrible. Especially after this one.
I think.
I mean, that's the thing that was beautiful about walking out of the theater with this film, is it wasn't just a nostalgia trip. It was a hearkening back to the original and a way forward for us to move forward with the franchise.
Oh,
if
definitely.
you want to do
Chills.
franchise building, this is the movie you will do it off of.
Well, I mean, the ending gave me chills, and of course, Sony back when they made the 2016 version created Ghost Core, like their little production studio specifically for making Ghostbuster movies. So it's like after the 2016 version, they're like, "Crap, we made Ghost Core, and this thing bombed. Like, what are we going to do?"
And we were talking
So
about it
now
right
they
after we walked out of the theater with this one. We looked it up on the car ride home. How much money was spent on the 2016 version versus this one?
Oh, the 2016 version was like $145 million, and this was $60 million or $70
$74 million.
It was
right?
$74 million.
Yeah.
It's made $60 million worldwide so far, so it's already met almost its whole budget. Whereas the 2016 version, I think, only hit around $200 million, so it didn't even double its
Yeah, no doubt, and it was definitely a flop considering all of the promotion they were giving it in advertising.
I think we were a little bit nicer in the past. I've noticed here recently I'm harsher on movies because I'm just tired of seeing the same.
Was it?
crap.
Would you think it was just like, well, it's the first Ghostbusters movie in 30 years, so we gotta like act like we enjoyed it or whatever? I didn't like any of that movie, but I think I agreed with your.
I think at the time
2 stars.
It's just I really don't know. I know I've gotten harsher with movies because it's just like
I think
I'm
we
tired
were.
of seeing the same.
I think we
schlock over and over.
I've seen that we tried to give things the benefit of the doubt, and here's the thing: this is part of being a critic. This is part of of consuming entertainment over a course of time, where you have an actual critical standard that either starts to become finessed, or you start to actually try to hone in on what are your true dislikes or likes. And I think with this film, because even I think if this film would have come out in 2016, no doubt I would have given it 3.5. I settled on 3 for this film, not because I disliked it, but I felt like the criticisms were enough to take off a full star. And one of those for me was I felt like some of the and this is what I've to kind of going back to the review and being harsher in the past or more forgiving in the past versus now, because this is another thing that I've noticed. I'm more eager and more willing now to be less forgiving for a really bad film and be more critical of a really good film. And sometimes that ends up becoming, if there's a really decent but bad film or not great film, I'll settle on a 2 stars or 2.5.
Yeah.
If it almost just nudged out and got, maybe I'll watch it again here and there.
Yeah.
If it's a really great film or a really good one, but I just feel like they were firing on all cylinders and then they just missed it and they didn't go far enough in this direction or that direction, then I'm going to be more critical of it because I think it has the capacity to be that much better.
Yeah.
And I feel like a year ago, if you look back, and I had to rewatch it just because it's re-airing next week, but our Sound of Metal review was by far, that Sound of Metal was the best film last year.
I loved Sound of Metal.
Should have won Best Picture.
Yeah.
And yet, here it is. I looked at it, and I think we all only gave it 3 stars. And I look back, I'm like, no, that's about a 3.5 to almost 4-star film.
No, I would agree.
I
thought I did 3.5.
And you might have.
I was almost 4 for that one. But
part of it too, because back in the past, like now it's almost we tend to almost agree a little bit more with audiences' scores now than critics' scores.
True.
And I think I kind of in the past also kind of had to do try to do a middle
balancing
ground
act,
where because it does have a 74 on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, the 2016 version.
Oh, God.
But it has a 49 from audiences.
This one has like a 60. How did that happen?
because it doesn't.
It's not woke.
It doesn't
Right,
check
exactly.
off. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
check off the right boxes.
Right. Yep.
And I think in the past, I would read critic reviews and be like, okay, they have a point there. I'll give them that. And now I don't read any reviews before seeing a movie. I go in, I see the movie, I judge for myself. I do think part of that is it too, is because before I would read the critic reviews and be like, all right, they're making a decent point. I'll give them that.
Well,
and now I'm just like, no.
there's that.
It's my opinion, just my own.
There's that, and then there's also what I will look at after I've seen the film now. I try to go in unprovoked or
I don't even
convinced.
like to know the Rotten Tomatoes score.
I don't. But it's like after watching the film for the first time, I will look, and my first thing is the discrepancy. I don't look at the critic reviews.
Yes.
I don't read them. I look at what the discrepancy is between the critical reviews and the audience score. And if they're about even, then I'm okay, and I'm like, yeah, that's about where I'm at.
Because
if
Afterlife
it's a
has a
huge
higher
discrepancy,
audience score.
then I'm almost always siding with the audience.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee you, if there's a huge discrepancy, whether good or bad, the audience is going to have the overall general audience opinion.
I feel like too with a movie like this, it's a movie that's been anticipated so long, and it's a movie that it's a recapturing what we remember from the original.
Right.
So anytime I go into a movie that's supposed to be a reboot of a franchise that I love and adore, like Ghostbusters, or if it's Transformers or anything like that, like if it's something from my childhood that I hold dear in film, if they're trying to reboot it, I'm gonna be more critical of it because it means
rightfully
something
so.
to me.
Yeah.
Sound of Metal is a great movie, and there were elements about it that did remind me or relate to me. But it wasn't a movie that I was going into it thinking this means something to me.
It's original.
This is sentimental to me. And exactly. But Ghostbusters was. And I agree with all of your points as far as the downfalls of the movie, which there aren't very many, but it wasn't enough to take a full star away from me. Actually, the only part of that about the movie that I really would say I have any issues with is the end of the movie. I loved most of the aspects of the end, which I do not want to talk about it because I want you to go see it. But I do feel like when they finally do introduce some original characters, it's done too little, too late, and it's too much. It was a little too much fanfare to me. It was a little too much nostalgia. It was some of the same lines from the original and some of the same things that they, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but that was one of those things where it was kind of like that Force Awakens moment for me, where it was too much like
fanfare. I thought they just were they came in and
It
was just
felt lazy.
Well,
to me.
I will say yes, it did feel a little bit.
I
lazy,
expected there to
but-
be a bigger build to it, and it just kind of show up. And I was just like, oh, well, I want to.
But they show up to reenact the end of the first movie, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And that wasn't enough.
I agree with that.
It was too little, too late, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But again, the rest of the film captured everything. It had my heart beating. It had me crying in a couple of places. Like, there were definitely... the entertainment was there for me, and the nostalgia was there for me, and it brought me back in a way that 2016 absolutely never could have.
So, Ghostbusters Afterlife, you're right. It has a 62 from critics because they're jackasses, and it has a 95 from audience.
There you go.
So,
that's all you need
that
to
tells
know.
you exactly what you need to know. But it's funny too because I think also with this film, just to harken back to the kind of some of the negatives, and to reiterate the point I was making about things I'm a little bit more critical about
we do
now.
talk about a lot of the negatives, so once you get through that, let's maybe go into some of the great.
I will.
parts of the
I will.
film.
Well, and here's the thing.
Critique.
I think most of the time it's funny because we're honestly. I've also noticed the trend, and this has just always been our case on the show.
Yeah.
We are much more positive when we give a film a low score to try to justify that. No, it's actually really decent.
Yeah.
And we're much more critical of a really good film.
Well, even just outside of the show, I mean, our friends, we'll talk about movies we love, but then we'll be critiquing them. And I know the Burrises are ones that'll be like, it's like, oh, y'all liked that movie? But the way y'all talking, it sounded like you hated it. It's like, no.
Well, no, but that's part of the reason we're more
critics.
critical of it.
Yeah.
And then if it's something we really love and we're not very critical of, then it's an exceptional film.
I can love
Lord of the Rings:
something-
Return of the King.
Yeah, I was saying, I can love something and still like point out its flaws or still recognize. The Star Wars prequel trilogy.
I want it to be great.
The Star Wars prequels are not good movies, but I still love watching them. Why? I don't know. They're terrible, but I get a kick
It's
out
like
of them.
Titanic. It's a guilty pleasure.
I'd rather watch the prequels than the sequels, though. So
actually, I would too. But no, real quick. So to harken back to something else, I've actually started to realize about in terms of my critical eye with movies. It's more so over the last, I would say, 3 years that I've noticed the trend of certain films that want to carry a heavier message or heavier weight. And this will kind of almost tie into what we're going to talk about in our headline segment. And that is that there has just been a lack of, morality or a lack of, a bigger picture in certain films that have certain bigger picture messages or at least a bigger picture take on life. And for me, I just feel like anytime a movie takes that leap into, I think we were talking about it last night after Keith was recorded the review, and he brought up the example of Soul.
Oh yeah,
with
Soul
Disney.
is terrible.
And that honestly, that's a perfect example of kind of what I'm describing. We have this now, and we've kind of brought it up with the whole Dave Chappelle
In fact,
incident
that's
and the
another
woke
one I think
culture.
I gave a higher rating to than it probably deserved.
No, I think you did, just like Finding Dory.
Oh God!
Finding Dory's better than Soul.
It is. I would agree with that. Yeah. But no, it's like Soul was a perfect example of a movie that I was hoping and anticipating it because I thought Inside Out was beautifully done. It touched on an essence of human nature that everybody can see and everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
But then I thought with Soul, they were going to try to go the deeper route. And I honestly thought, I was like, this is going to be challenging. In the culture in this day and age, when you're tackling these types of issues,
especially in a children's movie.
Yes,
Or,
it's very not only tough,
After
but it's
Inside Out, though, I thought, okay, maybe they can pull it off.
No, absolutely, and that was my problem. Is they didn't go far enough, or they were too lukewarm to try to include messages that would appeal to a wide array of people. And again, when you get this mile wide and an inch deep type of thinking, or just to be compassionate, when you're talking about real life issues. I mean, there's a line in this film specifically where she specifically kind of brings up this agnostic atheist perspective of we're just meat puppets.
Yep.
And then yet there's this spiritual element that is carried throughout the film. After all, they're chasing ghosts.
Right.
The film is called Afterlife. The main crux of the film revolves around one of the original main characters and his attachment to carrying out a purpose for these people and these, his niece. So I'm sitting here thinking, you have all of these elements in the story, but yet you don't go very far, or you don't go deep enough. Or granddaughter, I said niece. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. But yeah, it's like, for me, that's the problem where I'm going to judge it and harshly criticize it a lot more.
I really don't know. I gave Soul 3 stars. Yeah.
What the hell's wrong?
I don't know.
2.5, man.
Two. Yeah, 2.
Honestly,
I give it
2.
Yeah.
I think because despite the message, like there was like some humor, and I mean it was well made, but it was just at the end of the day, I'm tired of rewarding things for being well made. It's like, okay, good job, you made that's what you're supposed to do is make a movie, a movie.
Well, and here's the thing, I'm not opposed to movies that don't want to go that extra mile, or they want just look. If I go see Superbad, or I go see...
Yeah, you're not expecting...
The Hangover.
Wow.
I'm not expecting some in-depth narrative about human
secrets
nature.
To life, within Superbad, yeah.
But when I go see a film that is going to at least question some of those elements...
through some other movies here, see what...
and start retconning a bunch of your old reviews.
Stuff. Yeah.
But no, it's like when I start seeing these, movies now, we've been in this period long enough, in this kind of lull in our culture, where I'm like, okay, if you're going to be a movie that tries to approach that, I'm going to have to judge you more harshly, because I at least want something in its ability and its capacity to make me think. That's what I love about Nolan films. Nolan will tackle tough intellectual issues, and sometimes he doesn't fully explain them, just like Tenet.
Yeah.
Then there's other times where you're talking Interstellar or Inception, and there are these deep, methodical
even the Dark
plot
Knight
points.
Tackles human nature and tackles
absolutely
what it means to be a villain, what it means to be a vigilante. Like, I mean, it's
Well, in the darkness of human nature and just human spirit in general, and what it can, the ultimate. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to go. I can go down that
3 stars too. That was a good movie.
I agree with that
one. one star.
No, I did look. I gave Alien Covenant 3, and I'm like, that didn't.
Whoa.
I mean,
what?
That didn't deserve 3.
What?
Yeah.
I would go. I didn't hate that one. It was fine. It was just.
This just gives
average,
everybody a
man.
reason to go to our website and start
I almost
bashing
feel like
us.
we should take all 3 of our scores and average it.
Aggregate them. Yeah.
I think that would.
I would
no
give
doubt.
Alien Covenant 2.5. I mean, but I was just,
at least then
but
Arrival
it
would
didn't
be
deserve
2
3.
stars.
Okay, I gave Black Klansman
We
1.
could
That's
definitely.
fine. I got that one right.
Like, we
Black
could
Klansman
definitely
was 1.
keep Keith's review and his star rating as the official.
That's what it's always been.
But we could definitely have a separate thing that here's our average. Just like we have the critic score and the audience score.
Yeah.
We could have 2 different
No,
scores.
I think we should.
should
I think we
average it.
should
Yeah.
definitely. Well, and Neil went through all that hard work of
he did.
actually going through and listening and seeing what we gave our reviews. Now, some weeks we were, we didn't give an actual star review, but the way we talked about it, you could find that
I didn't
out.
review this one. You did. I just wanted to see what we had given it. 50 Shades of Grey. You gave it 1.5.
I agree with that.
I've
never seen it. I never
given
watched
it 1 star.
That was back when we both reviewed movies. I did one and you did one.
I only gave it 1.5 because she's butt naked in it.
I never
She's
watched.
hot.
I never watched it.
That's the only reason.
I didn't even. Yeah, I've still not seen it to this day.
It's not worth it.
It's not.
Not at all. All right, guys. I think we're ready to move on to our headlines. We've talked extensively about Ghostbusters Afterlife. It is absolutely a film you should go see.
Here's Dune.
Yep.
That
See
was
it in IMAX. If
that
you
was
can.
3
Yeah,
stars.
that's
That was a
true.
good one. I agree with that.
3. Yeah,
I
agree with
think
that.
I gave it 3.5.
You might have.
Oh, I thought you were lower than 3. I thought you did 2.
I did. I gave it 2.5. We were all different on that
Yeah.
one. Yeah, I gave it 2.5.
Yeah.
I wasn't
You
too
just
thrilled.
said you agree with it when I said 3. Obviously, you didn't.
No, I'm saying I can agree with. Here's the thing: I can agree
He can
with
agree
your
that you gave it.
overall.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I could
Okay.
still say I have my own opinions.
I don't believe you.
But I don't stand behind your review of Soul, your review of Finding Dory.
Yeah.
I think you gave it 3.5.
I think I did give Finding Dory 3.5.
No.
I loved
Yes.
that movie when I first saw it.
Oh my
It cracked me
God.
up. I gave it 4. Yeah, I'm
No,
retarded.
you didn't. You gave it 4.
That's what it says.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it doesn't deserve 4.
Oh my God.
I still enjoyed it. The seals cracked me up, but I mean, it
I feel
doesn't
like
deserve.
this is a Ricky
Whoa.
Bobby moment.
I'd give Finding Dory 3.
Well, I was high when I reviewed that.
Yeah.
Man.
That's what
I
feel
would
like
give it 3, but I wouldn't give it 4.
God almighty.
All right,
Yeah.
guys, go see Ghostbusters
Yeah.
Afterlife. Let's move on now
Okay.
to our headlines segment. All right, guys, I gave you a pre-warning, but I just want to reiterate that we're gonna throw down.
Socks.
Yeah, you need socks. It's cold out there. So I just want to start off kind of what I was talking about with Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And ultimately that I really do think we're at a point now in our culture where we've got to start holding people accountable and responsible for the views that they express, because they're not just opinions anymore. They're distorting facts and they're distorting truths. And anytime the truth gets distorted and it willingly gets overlooked or bypassed, I think you have to call a spade, and you have to directly point to those people and that group.
We just started out by offending people,
Racist again.
Spade a spade, you know.
A spade.
Talked about that on his.
that?
Yes, I remember that.
Callbacks.
That's
You
the
know.
reason why I said it.
You better stop talking about, because you're going to make me.
He's getting emotional. That was fake. That was fake.
Fake.
That was fake.
Hey,
He
that
didn't-
was Kyle Rittenhouse.
He didn't feel
Oh,
bad.
you're saying he's fake?
Yeah.
No, but
I'm saying it
seriously.
was a little overdone.
But hey,
I know.
Oh, gosh.
I watched the whole thing. I know. I understand.
Trust me, Pete,
But I
you're-
think his lawyer was just like, you need to be emotional.
No, I don't think it was that at all.
I think he was.
I
being
think it was
sincere,
genuine.
Yeah.
I think it was genuine. But no, let's dive right into it. Look, I even texted you all yesterday and said this could easily be perceived as jumping on the bandwagon, or the bandwagon of a headline that's current right now, of a current event, and it could be getting political for political sake on a movie podcast. And I totally understand that. I totally get that perspective that some people might have. However, I think this differs because we would not be talking about it if this had not been prefaced with a slew of celebrities in Hollywood that have come out after the verdict of the trial.
And I mean,
After, the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse. This would not be a topic on tonight's show. But I think when you see the complete and moral depravity and breakdown of those who are supposed to be at the height of influence, those who are at the height of influence
those
in
who
our
claim
culture.
to know the average is like, we know the average everyday Joe, the
Right.
blue collar worker. We relate to them. No, you don't.
So, and that's why this is a topic of tonight's show. That's why we're bringing this up. It's not just to, try to jump on the bandwagon of something that's current event or try to get political
I like
just
to
for
jump on
political.
bandwagons.
Well, of course you do. You do a good job of it too, Keith.
I like orchestra carts better, but bandwagons are okay.
Orchestra cards. I like it.
I just want to see what one of those is.
I don't know.
But no, let's open it up to an article that I will have linked in the description after tonight's show, and that is the response of the many Hollywood celebrities that spoke about what happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse. It really shows you the true face of what not only lying and deceiving behavior and attitudes are, but also it shows you just the complete malicious nature of those who don't care to pay attention to facts or care to actually tell the truth. They are actually out to create a narrative that distorts reality for their own perceived reality or what they believe or what they want to see. And it really is absolutely sickening. So we're going to start out with none other than always at the forefront of controversy in these topics, Mark Ruffalo. He spoke and tweeted.
Real quick, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to preface all of this, because I know a lot of our viewers tune in to talk about movies, and we do that, but they may not also know about I watched the trial live every day for almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, but other people may not. So you're talking about Kyle Rittenhouse. He was about a year ago. He was in Kenosha, Wisconsin during a BLM riot, and there was peaceful protesting. There was rioting. He was there to protect some property, as he was asked to do. He had a firearm, a rifle with him for protection, and I mean, the only reason I would carry one of those around instead of a handgun would be intimidation. Don't bother me because I've got a bigger gun than you. But again, he was chased. He was beaten. He was in fear for his life. Right. He was attacked. So he defended himself and ended up killing two people.
Two,
injuring and wounding another. And so he was on trial for murder, and it ended up being acquitted under the grounds of self-defense.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's what we're referring to when it comes to this. He was white. The two people that he shot and killed were white.
And the third that he injured were
and
white.
The third that he injured
it was
white.
It was at a BLM protest riot. Right. I mean, they say protest, but there was a lot of rioting.
They were burning the city down.
So. It's not peaceful. It's not peaceful protest if you're looting.
Not everybody. But that was going on.
I'm not saying there weren't.
That was why he was there, was to protect property and to give medical aid to anybody, rioters, protesters, or people defending property. He was there for that reason.
And again, a lot of the celebrities, like Brandon said, there's so many that was like, well, why was he even there with a gun? Well, why were the people that beat him there with a gun?
Well, I was going to say, as
why were they there with bricks?
we read through these tweets, we're going to break down what was actual proven by fact in the court of law through this trial by video evidence, why he is rightfully acquitted of these charges and testimony. Yep. And we will show you through what was proven in the trial versus what these celebrities continue to spew. And they spewed this, obviously, after the verdict came out. So this tells you this is willful deceit on their part. So I'll start with Mark Ruffalo. Yeah. He said, "We came together to mourn the lives lost to the same racist system that devalues black lives and devalued the lives of Anthony and JoJo."
I love how he says JoJo.
Oh, of course.
Like he knows the guy.
Yeah. Well, and again, to put upon the impression that this was somebody who was innocent. JoJo refers to Joseph Rosenbaum, who was one of the people killed that night by Kyle Rittenhouse in self-defense. Joseph Rosenbaum was a convicted child rapist. He anally raped at least 2 children, convicted on these charges. None of that was brought up in the trial because, again, this wasn't a trial about Joseph Rosenbaum. The jury didn't know anything about this. But these people who want to make stupid-ass remarks on this trial and act as if Kyle Rittenhouse murdered somebody innocent don't want to do any little digging or even the littlest amount of Googling to find out the absolute piece of trash and human refuse and evil person Joseph Rosenbaum was. He deserved what he got that night. 1, because he instigated it, and 2, if it wasn't going to happen that night, it was going to happen at some point because this person was not a good person. To continue on, Mark says, "After all we have seen and heard about these weapons of war, these killing machines, there is no doubt that people who faced this young man were more afraid of him than he was of them. He was the one with a weapon of war, loaded and ready to be used on people. Justice weeps bitterly today. We are coming together to heal the scars left by the wounds of this grief. We will care for each other and remember why we continue to march. An AR-15, that is not an automatic weapon. It is a semi-automatic, which means you have to pull the trigger each time. It's not a weapon of war. Again, the ignorance of these people who are supposed to be influences. They are influences on our culture. They're supposed to actually be better because they have a louder mouthpiece. They have a bully pulpit. But no, they are influencing our culture with deceitful lies. I'll continue. Someone I know Keith is very fond of, and he's even admitted it on the show. He's an ignorant asshole, which I know Keith would admit as well. Stephen King. So, the white guy goes free. Is that the message? Well, there were 3 other white men that tried to attack him that night. So it has nothing to do with race. He simply was defending himself when he was attacked. So yes, he shot people who were trying to attack him. To continue, I'm not even going to read Colin Kaepernick. He's not worth the time, and he's a celebrity. He's not a part of Hollywood. The beloved Kerry Washington. Elections matter. The lives of Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber mattered. Oh, they did? Huh?
Excuse me.
They should be alive today. Our First Amendment right to free speech should not cost any of us our lives. And regardless of anybody's verdict anywhere and at any time, black lives do matter today and always. I love how she says that Joseph Rosenbaum's life mattered. Did it matter to those little children who he raped? Are you going to say the same thing? So you're willing to defend somebody who was killed, rightfully, and you're going to defend a child rapist? Give me a break.
Can I just
go ahead
interject on that just a moment? I'm not trying to disagree, but I don't feel like we should be putting the message out there that just because you have a crooked past and that you've done things wrong that you deserve to die.
No, I'm not. Here's the thing.
He deserves what he got for attempting to harm Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't know what Joseph Rosenbaum. I know his past. I don't know how long ago that was. I don't know if he's been rehabilitated, which I do believe
he's not.
He got out
of prison that day, or I'm sorry, he got out of a mental institution that
hospital,
day.
Yeah.
Okay.
And was given his belongings, in which he left.
Right.
And went straight to this later that evening.
I get that.
But here's the thing. What I'm simply doing is equating the moral equivalency that these people are equating to Kyle Rittenhouse.
I get that.
And I'm attacking them with the same viewpoint of them trying to protect Joseph Rosenbaum. Now, I don't know. The other one, apparently, he was acting violent.
Felon with a gun, so...
Well, the guy that was shot in the arm...
no, that was Grosskreutz.
He was a felon, and he was in possession of a firearm,
and it's illegal as a felon
illegal.
to own a firearm.
Right, yeah.
Well, and he also lied under oath and lied under his testimony to the police originally that night that the gun fell out of his pocket.
Yeah.
When the video evidence clearly showed he ran up on Kyle Rittenhouse on the ground with the gun in his face.
Yep.
So again, my point is not to say that these people deserved what they got that night because of past sins.
Yeah.
I'm simply equating the fact that these people want to say they were completely innocent, that they weren't doing anything wrong that night. No, they were. They were there. They were rioting. They were setting things on fire. These were not innocent people.
No.
And what Kyle Rittenhouse was doing clearly showed in the video and was proven in the court of law that he was justified in protecting himself from being killed that night himself.
Yes.
The only reason I bring up the other issues with Joseph Rosenbaum is because people are parading around acting like these are innocents. And I'm simply telling you, no. You do a little bit of digging, it's very clear to see. It's easy for these people to get on their Twitter account with thousands of followers
turn them
and
into
crazed
martyrs.
fans and turn these people who weren't innocent into martyrs.
Yeah.
And for them to paint these broad strokes of innocence and then try to claim that we, on the other side of the aisle or on the other side of this verdict, who were happy with it, who were cheering for it, that we somehow are to blame. When they're chasing after a red herring, when they're chasing after something that does not exist. Mia Farrow. So anyone can come to a protest. It wasn't a protest, it was a riot. very clearly shown on the video, just march down the middle of the street with a massive gun and kill people. Completely distorted the facts.
Yes. Yeah.
He didn't walk down the street and just start shooting his gun.
No, yeah, yeah.
To continue on. Trying to find the next, there's a bunch of celebrities, but not all of them are actors. I'm trying to stick with just those who are in Hollywood. I mean, all of these people have Hollywood. Oh, this is great.
Bette Midler's is pretty.
That's the next one I came upon. Do you want to read it, Keith?
I'll read it.
Go ahead and read it.
It's dumb.
She's an
Kyle
idiot.
Rittenhouse found not guilty, though we saw him kill two. Fundamentally stupid. I mean, yes, you saw him defend himself. It's just like you said, he just didn't walk up and kill people.
Yep.
Fundamentally stupid. I predict he will go on to a big career on Fox and in radical right-wing circles, which counts as a plus with them. A tragic, tragic day for decent, thinking, feeling ethical people everywhere. Not for thinking people, but maybe feeling people because you feel, but
exactly. And that's all they can do. They can just emote. George
they really do
Takei,
paint it like he just went to this place and just started shooting people. That's not what happened.
And again, that's why I brought up the Joseph Rosenbaum. It shows it's not the inability. These people are ignorant and they are lazy thinkers. It's easy to be on the side of the verdict that they wanted to be on.
Just the Mark Ruffalo comment about the weapons of war. I'm like, so are swords. So are
So are
bows
knives.
and arrows. So are knives. So are bricks.
so are pistols.
And so are
soldiers keep pistols when
right.
they.
I'm just like, what do you? I mean, what do you consider a weapon of war? Anything we turn on another is a weapon of war.
Right.
Like that it's an idiotic comment.
Yep.
And it just shows it shows their ignorance, and it shows that they're just trying to make a tweet that's going to get a reaction.
Well, they don't want to understand. They have a perceived insight and perspective of the world that they will not allow it to be changed or influenced.
Yeah.
They live in a bubble, a cultural bubble, where they have an echo chamber of only their opinions, only their viewpoints that are constantly uttered. And even when they can see video evidence, and like you said, the entire trial was broadcast, and yet even then, they still walk away, regardless of the facts, believing what they believed in the first place.
Yep.
For an entire year, they were claiming this kid was a white supremacist, even though no black people were shot. Yep. It was just because it took place during a BLM movement or riot.
Which he actually supports.
Yeah, he recently just said in an interview that he supported the BLM movement.
Yep.
But he supported peaceful protest,
right.
which I think a lot of people would be on that same page, having gone through last year. And yet here we are, almost an entire year after all of the evidence that was laid bare for everybody to see, kept waiting for the prosecution to bring out somebody, testimony, eyewitness accounts, whatever it may be, to add to the pile of evidence that would truly show the heinous act that Kyle Rittenhouse committed that night, and it wasn't proven.
No.
And it shows the atrocity of the left and their viewpoints and the people like these celebrities in Hollywood, that they're willing to go to this insane extent where there is no evidence available just so that they can get their point of view across and prove that they are in control and they can see the world through their lens and force it to be seen through everybody else's.
This next one,
Go ahead.
I'm not really sure who Yvette Nicole Brown. I'm not sure I know even know who that is, but just the fact that she says, "Good news is that white men and boys can still kill whoever they want and not do jail time. Isn't that fun?" Above that is a quote from someone that says, "I have no faith in the justice system." It's that same justice system that let Joseph Rosenbaum, a convicted child rapist, free. It's that same justice system that let a man free 2 days before he got in an SUV and plowed through 40 people
Christmas
in a
parade.
Christmas parade.
Yep.
So that justice system is the justice system that I have no faith in. It is, and it's funny because she talks about white men and boys that can't. There's plenty of black men and boys that are out free because the justice system failed and released them before there was a chance for any rehabilitation, before there was a chance for them to pay for their crimes that they had committed. They're out there killing people now. and as we speak, both white and black, because the justice system doesn't have a racial bias. It has failed in containing crime, and it lets criminals free and tries to convict the people who try to do what's right. That's the justice system that's been turned on its head recently, and that's why people like Kyle Rittenhouse, who do go against that grain and try to defend themselves and prove that we live in a country with Second Amendment rights. We live in a country where you have the right to defend your property, yourself, or the lives of others if you feel like they're threatened, and that goes against this grain and this message that they're trying to push. This is just ignorant to me. I don't know, and I don't understand how these people get this way or how they get this idea.
Well, I think they and that's kind of what the broader topic is.
It's just
of our segment tonight, and it's again, I used to have this perception that you understood Hollywood was on the left side of the aisle, or when we were younger, it wasn't really the left and the right. It was liberal and conservative. It was one side's battling for tax cuts, the other's battling for climate change and how money's spent. I mean, it's like, and trust me, those wars are still waged today. But the issues that faced us culturally and as a people and how we saw the world and the scope in which we saw the world, those differences were not that great. That's what I remember growing up. They weren't that big. And over the last decade,
there wasn't the amount of vitriol there is now.
Yes,
you could
conservatives
and liberals could come to the table.
Yes,
and you could have family members
you
without
could commune
getting into a fight
with those that you differed with, and still respect them when you walked away.
Now people disown you because it's like if you're not of the same political opinion of them, you can't be their friend, you can't be their family, you can't, they won't have nothing
that's
to do
the thing.
with you.
Everything we say tonight, I know there are people that are friends with me on Facebook, friends with me at work, friends with me in public that I've become acquaintances with that would even attribute what we're talking about right now as creating that divide. For one, I understand it's a podcast. The whole point is that we put our opinions out there in the ether, and you agree or disagree, come one, come all, we welcome it. But the fact of the matter and the difference is like you said, that vitriol and that divide has become so great. I used to look with fondness on my dream of wanting to attain that acclaim from Hollywood, to win that Oscar, to show that I was part of the elite. I was, and not elite in terms of class, but elite in terms of the hard work that it took to get to that echelon, to the skill that it would take to get the award, to garner the respect of truly someone who had mastered the craft.
Award's not even about skill anymore.
Exactly, and that's the thing that I've noticed in the last decade. I could die happily knowing I never earned an Oscar, because to me it wouldn't have been earning. The way in which our culture has been focused, in Hollywood in general, over this last 10 years is when I've really seen it take shape. They have become so sycophantic with their perspective and their view on the world that they don't perceive it any other way. And if there is any film that comes out that stars any one of these people who we've mentioned tonight, and there's plenty more to read about that made idiotic and ignorant comments. But the thing is any one of them come out and make a movie that somehow supports something they disagree with, either they, one, apologize and say, oh, I should have never done that, or two, it completely fades away because it's 1 in a million and nobody highlights it, because at the end of the day, they didn't know. They were ignorant of the message it was peddling. And if they had known, they would have never starred in the movie. And that's the problem that I have with this Hollywood culture nowadays. And the reason it's so important is because, yes, politics is downstream of culture. And culture is built by those who are influencers and those who have the greatest impact on the way kids interact and adults interact day in and day out. The fact that LeBron can't just shut up and dribble. The The fact that he can't get out there and just throw a ball through a hoop and be known for that like Michael Jordan did. And yet it still comes out that even after he pushes his social justice agenda, he's taking money from Big Daddy China and doesn't have any problems with the social justice issues that are going on over there in killing the Uyghur Muslims.
Well, you don't speak out against where your money comes from.
Well, absolutely not. If anything, that's what Hollywood's taught us.
Yeah.
Or even just a few months ago, or not even a few months, it was a month ago. Alec Baldwin shoots somebody on set. And then he starts tweeting about it because he's a part of this elitist society where he's gotten away with being an asshole his whole life. Because he's part of the few. He's a selected few. So he can come out and start retweeting people who want to say it was an unsafe set, or, oh, no, it was fine. Or, oh, as long as the target's not on his back.
Yeah.
Because these people don't have to live like the rest of us. They live in their own bubble. They live apart from us, and therefore they should be able to influence us, and we have no say over it. This trial was not only about self-defense, it was about sticking up for the common man. It was about saying that regardless of the influence you have, regardless of those who wanted to go out and destroy the cities last year, you cannot do that without consequence.
Right.
That's what this was about.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's exactly what was upheld in the court of law and in this nation of law and order.
Yeah.
That's what the Kyle Rittenhouse trial was about.
They keep calling this like a shocking blow to, and that to me, that's what the biggest blow is towards. It means you cannot come and destroy property and throw bricks and burn things and hurt people, and there not be someone there that's going to take it upon themselves to do what the police aren't doing.
Yes.
And it's not because they don't want to do it.
No.
It's because they've been ordered not to do it.
That's right.
And they've been defunded so that they can't do it.
And they were
Yes.
and there were chants of that all last summer. From
Yeah.
who? These very same people who are crying out foul on the justice system right now. The reason Kyle Rittenhouse was there when he was taking part in trying to clean up the mess in his community was because the police were ordered to stand down.
Yep.
Because they were pressured by the very political figures in Hollywood and part of the mainstream media to not have the police step in and do their job.
All right. He actually approaches policemen in the video
Yes.
and says, I just shot someone. I had to. And the cop tells him to go home.
Go home.
And that just shows you right
That's
there.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And they talk about the justice system. It's like that right there. I mean, and granted, that's not Kyle Rittenhouse's fault, and the police were told to stand down. But
and he still went and turned himself in.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean,
He went to the closest county police department and turned himself in.
Yeah. Well, because
that,
he knew
that police department wasn't taking visitors. That was what they said. Like the doors were closed. They were not accepting anyone inside. They were shut down.
That's the state of our justice system right now. Even still, there's underfunded police. That don't have support. In a lot of cities, even in our own cities, we've seen how bad crime has gotten.
Yeah.
Here, where
Well,
we live.
Louisville was one of the ones
It's one
at
of
the forefront.
It is right now. It's gotten horrible, and because we don't have police support from our city officials, none of them.
No. And again, this all goes back to the moral decay of our society. The fact that it's gotten to a point now where we can't depend on those who have the bigger mouthpiece. Those who have been given the mouthpiece, the ones who have been given the ability to speak to wide mass audiences. Whether it be because it was given to them through mainstream media or given to them because of talent that they portrayed in sport or on the silver screen. But the fact of the matter is that it's been made clear over the last 2 years, ever since the riots of 2020 broke out, and ultimately through this trial, it's been made clear that these people do not deserve the responsibility of being listened to and truly being influencers. We have to create our own culture. We as a society have to shut it down and say no. And yeah, that may make it harder on our jobs too. Here entertaining you on this podcast may mean having to discuss these very matters that are not so entertaining. They are more political. It may mean us not going and seeing certain movies in the future because we know it will support certain artists and certain celebrities with certain agendas. But we have to revolt. We have to turn away from just giving in and saying it's not a big deal. It is. It is our very lives at stake. If we don't show these people who claim to be in power, who claim to have the ultimate influence in our lives, it is best that we stand up as a society and say, no, you don't. You may, with regards to, yeah, you're a great basketball, football player. It may have influence in, oh, you're somebody I aspire to be because you're a great actor. You're a great director. But that's as far as it needs to go.
I didn't see any directors in there. I have to scroll through. I'm just saying, I did.
No.
I saw writers and
God.
I saw writers and
doesn't
actors and
capture
sports
all of them,
commentators.
though.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and again, and here's the thing. I think this is a very slim minority. Kind of going back to what we talked about with, the vocal minority in Netflix and Chappelle. I think it's very clear to see that this is not all of Hollywood. No. It's a majority.
There's Chris Pratt.
And
He's the only one.
They try to cancel him every month.
Actually, no. Funny enough,
he's not the only one.
He's not well known, but I forget. It was actually in the Daily Wire article that we linked to because our very own Reese Witherspoon, Legally Blonde, she knows exactly what she's talking about. I'm surprised I didn't read her tweet already. It's god awful, and we'll have it linked to.
Hey, she played a lawyer in a movie once.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Or twice.
She knows.
There were two of those, weren't there? Legally Blonde.
Yeah.
She played a lawyer twice.
Then. Yeah. But no, and it's just funny because even the comments refer to that. They call her out and call her Legally Blonde. I have to read it now.
That just
it's
occurred to me, and I don't know why it's just now occurring to me, but one of the charges that they tried to get Kyle Rittenhouse on was negligent homicide, and that was I'm trying to think which one it was, because they were basically claiming he fired some shots. One of them missed. One of them did hit somebody and kill them, but one of the shots may have missed or whatever. And they're like, yeah, it's negligence because you could have hit somebody behind them or across the street or whatever. But
right.
I mean, wouldn't you consider Alec Baldwin shooting someone in the face or shooting someone in the neck or whatever negligent homicide?
Yep.
Because he didn't check the gun he allowed for the production crew to.
I know.
At the very least, it's manslaughter, but he's not going to. Yeah, they're not going to put that charge on him.
Right. But I'm just saying that's not much different than what happened in Kenosha as far as that particular charge, negligent homicide.
Well, and that's
if it had been anybody else, he would have gotten something.
There's no rationale behind it. They don't have rational thinking.
If you point a gun at somebody and pull the trigger without checking it, that is a total disregard of human life.
But it wasn't his responsibility.
It doesn't matter.
I know. I'm just that's what they're going. It was the armorer and the other director, the assistant director that were supposed to check. It's like, I'm sorry, anytime a gun's in your hand, you're responsible for checking it.
Yeah.
Yep. No, completely 100% agree.
All right,
I was going to read it. It'll be linked in the description below. Reese Witherspoon's comments. Just another ignorant idiot portraying her ignorance just of Hollywood in general.
She's legally blonde.
Yeah, indeed.
So just know that none of those judges or people are going to get her vote ever. No U.S. representative or judge that supported that. Well, and it's like, we already knew that, Reese.
Yeah.
We already knew
Reese.
Nobody in Hollywood's voting for the conservatives.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that, we're never going to vote for them now. You never were.
Yep.
No.
Exactly.
No big loss.
Yeah. Whew. Stave that one. But no, it is. It's a rally. This is a rallying cry for us to take into consideration moving forward as a culture and as a society. What do we really want to embrace? Truth and responsibility and independence, that we can take care of ourselves and that we can protect those around us and those that we care about and our loved ones, and pass those traditions and those values on to the next generation? Or do we want to be cowards who stick to a certain narrative so that we can selfishly climb to the echelon of being on top of a society and taking all of its value and riches and gold for the price of selling our soul? That's what Hollywood's become. That is the moral depravity that they have chosen for themselves, and they continue to not only just preach with the biggest mouthpieces on social media, but also continue to profess through the works of art that they create and it's time for us to wholeheartedly reject it and refuse to allow that. Alrighty, guys, I think we are finally ready to move on something a little bit more lighthearted. Thank God. It's Christmas almost. We got Thanksgiving. We got a lot to be thankful for, and that's why we should move on to our relationship segment.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above.
And a day called love. I like my.
Are you not entertained?
That's right.
Just,
Well, if you weren't entertained by that last part,
hopefully you'll be
entertained by
entertained
this part.
I just want to say,
It may not have been your cup of tea.
still looking through my old reviews, I gave Christmas Vacation 3.5 stars.
I would agree with that.
I stand by that
I agree.
one still.
Yeah.
So basically, you're saying there's diamonds in the rough.
Most of my, I would say, I'm gonna lowball myself a little bit here just because I don't trust myself, but I would say 85% of my reviews I stand by.
That's good.
Hey, that shows humility.
85.
Something Hollywood also doesn't have.
know.
So, already,
I might have to amend a few, but most of them I still agree with.
our topic of the relationship segment this week is, of course, Thanksgiving's right here upon us. Mm-hmm. The people that you're thankful for. Now, I know we've covered a lot of thankful things in the past, a little bit broader, but I wanted to at least open up the discussion on the people in your life that you're thankful for. This is a chance for you to shout it out. Get it out there. Keith, you just gave a look of like, I don't really have anybody.
Well, I was hoping, I was hoping some of my more recent reviews I wouldn't regret.
He's still on his reviews.
Yeah.
But then I looked at Wonder Woman 84 and saw I gave it 2.5, and I'm like, that's still too high. I don't know why I gave that movie that
One
high.
and a half.
Yeah, so it's.
2. Yeah.
I gave some stuff the benefit of the doubt.
We
Shouldn't
need
have.
we need to average them out.
I'm
I think that
thankful
would be good.
for you
I
and
think-
all your terrible reviews.
I think
Keith.
what I need to do is
Keith's not a person. You said people you're thankful for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. He's a lot of people.
He's
I'm sorry. What are your pronouns?
I don't have any.
He's his own unique.
Take your pick.
You got to
Keith-
figure it out.
Keith is a pronoun.
Yeah.
No, I'm thankful for you guys. I'm
You gotta
thankful
try to
every
guess
single
my
week.
pronouns, and if you get it wrong, I'm gonna be offended and sue you.
You won't be thankful for me then.
I was never thankful. for
Actually, if he gets them wrong and you shoot him, that's just.
you. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, no, according to the standards we've been talking about.
I was gonna say, going by that logic, I
Yeah.
think he's right.
Yeah.
I just think that shooting people's okay now. That's what I got.
It's
from
always
all of
been
that.
You're a
Okay.
white vigilante.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. That comports right along with the side of thinking that you would be accustomed to.
I am thankful for Sean.
Oh,
Well, thanks, man.
that's nice.
Appreciate that.
Nobody else.
Yeah. Oh, I'm thankful for a lot of people. I'm just talking about the people in this room. I'm not
wow.
thankful for Mrs. Klaus. Klaus!
She's right there.
Yeah, she's evil. No, I'm thankful for both of you. I mean, I've known both of you for a very long time now. You're both two of my closest friends. I enjoy doing the podcast with you all. I'm hoping, as we talked about, or will talk about in the, not next week because it's a rerun, but when you see our first Christmas show, we've hinted at a few things maybe next year, hopefully. And I am thankful to be a part of that with you all. I'd like forward to what we're going to do with Red Moon and hopefully continue to make it grow. I'm thankful for, my family, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I think anybody, I know there's people out there who aren't, but I am thankful for my parents and for my siblings. And the people that I am closest to, you all, Neil, even though he's miles away, he's still someone I consider myself close to.
Yeah.
Not physically, but, emotionally. And that's all that matters is emotions.
That's it. Just emoting. Sean, what about you?
Well, I think the people in this room, my immediate family, obviously that's a given. One of the things that I've kind of recently become a little bit more thankful for since I've discovered some things about my family and the past and things like that, especially in reading and looking at some things about my grandfather that I never knew. I'm thankful for those who have gone on before me.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for great-grandparents and the things that they did and the things that they sacrificed so that the family I have today exists. And so there's just recently looking at some old photos and some old documents and stuff about my mother's dad. Just got me has got me kind of thinking. I never really realized some of the things that were done a long time ago that led to the family and and friends and things that I have today.
Yeah.
So,
well, piggybacking off that a little bit, because I agree with family, because all of us are here because of the people that came before us. Despite whatever anger people have towards the past that can be ridiculous, we're all here thanks to our forefathers. And I just want to say, definitely my family. Like, my mom found my grandfather's stocking up in the attic when she was getting her Christmas stuff down, and that made her cry because he just recently passed. And she had said, like, when she gave it to him, he said it was the first time he had a stocking with his name on it last year. So that just kind of hit her hard. And it is definitely those things, like thinking about my grandfathers, my grandparents, and the past, but even just people in my lives, present and past, that have taught me lessons. I'm thankful for all those people, whether it be the people from Valley Station when we grew up in the church. I mean, there's your father, Dennis. I mean, I learned a lot from him, from I mean, more than that. I mean, as much as it could sometimes be a little frustrating, even Leonard, like when we were bowling, some of the, sometimes I
gotta bring your arm up.
Yeah.
Bring it up. Carry through.
Neil's parents, Jacob's family, just so many people that have imparted. Brian Fry, who was our youth minister for a long time. And I can't. Oh man, I Brother Don. I couldn't think of it for the. I don't know why.
Don
I mean,
Zuber.
He. Honestly, I mean, and I'm not knocking the pastors we had after him, but I mean, he was definitely, I think, the last just really great pastor we had there before.
Dave Thomas.
Dave Thomas was good, but he was interim. That's why I kind of didn't count him.
Yeah, but he was youth
Was that
minister
after
too.
he made the hamburgers at Wendy's?
You make that joke every time we say his
I
name.
have to.
Everybody
there's not
Everybody
a
does.
microchip arrival. Y'all do the same thing, all right?
Same thing.
Well, because that one's true. No,
Can't
but
teach an old dog new tricks, all right?
Everybody
"I."
makes that joke. Everybody does when you hear Dave Thomas.
you have
but
to.
Here's the thing: is that he wasn't. Yeah, he was already gone by the time I was in youth. Now he was still around as he did some interim stuff and everything. But by the time I got to youth, it was Brian.
Yeah.
And then of course we had a whole slew of people, even and I won't name drop names. There were especially one youth minister that was very unpopular. But even the things,
Even thankful for him.
yes, because there are things I learned from him.
They
on
make
what,
you appreciate
not to do,
the better
yeah.
ones.
So,
what not to do.
And I think there's a lot of things like that where I know people, and I'm not saying I don't have regrets in my life, but when I look back on them and feel embarrassment over the things that I wish I'd done differently, those are still learning lessons that that I'm like, okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I am thankful for all of the people that have come in and out of my life, even the ones that maybe the relationship didn't go the way I wanted it to, and I may feel kind of be a little bit embarrassed on how I may have handled certain things in those relationships, but I realized God put those people in my life to teach me that lesson.
Yeah.
And and so that way I don't do the same thing in the future. So
No, I would agree completely. I mean, that's kind of, more along the lines of what I was kind of hoping we would talk about with this segment, is because I know, obviously, I don't think if we had families that we weren't thankful for, we wouldn't be in this room together.
Right.
I don't think we would have the same values. We would be sharing the same beliefs to have a podcast, to have the show, to have, the projects that we have in the future or even have done in the past. And for me, it is about, obviously being thankful for those people and celebrating with them this Thanksgiving, as we do every year with those loved ones that we're thankful for. But I think it is, like you all are kind of talking about, it's kind of given me pause, I think, this year in particular, because of everything that happened in the last year through the craziness of the whether it's politics or ultimately with the virus and COVID. And, there were people who, I think, for me, I was still wanting to reach out to and reconnect with and kind of reignite a friendship that maybe didn't happen or got even put on the back burner simply because of COVID. And it made me even more thankful to possibly get back to normal, to get back to wanting to reach back out to those people, people that I haven't talked to that I have lifelong friendships with, like Logan. Tristan's one of our childhood friends that he jumps on here every once in a while and comments. And even funny enough, last week, Thomas Neville, a guy that from college that I hadn't honestly, and it was funny. I messaged he messaged me. He private messaged me last week after the show, and we had a little back and forth. And he was like, it's been like 10 years, and I was like, and it's crazy because it's like I even see it in just my news feed on Facebook. How there's just there's people that will pop up every once in a while where
just like,
either
it's nice to see how they're doing. Yeah,
exactly. It's nice to see that. It's nice to see the life that they've laid out for themselves. It's nice to see sometimes there's people who I might not have seen eye to eye with back in the day, but now I'm kind of like, oh, wow, we're adults now. We've grown up. I actually kind of agree with some of the posts they make, or I may, I like some of the things they post about.
People that even that we went to high school with, people that I knew and I was well acquainted with, but they weren't like long-term friends or people that they were people I knew like once I got out of high school I was never really going to talk to again. But some of them that I've seen, like you said, leave stuff on Facebook that I'm like, oh, I agree with them. Like that person, people who I thought were idiots in high school, I'm like, oh,
they've grown up.
That person's really intelligent. I never knew that because they acted like dumbasses all throughout high school. But even Tristan, like recently, he accidentally he was trying to message someone else. He sent me this message, and I saw it, and then he sends it back, and he's like, I didn't mean to send that to you, but how have you been?
Yeah.
And we just had a brief convo, but it was just nice to hear from. Even though it was accidental, it just sparked enough to have just that. It was a quick back and forth, but it was just nice to kind of briefly catch up over Facebook. And there's just even people, like even old wounds. Like there's people that I was bitter towards at Valley Station for certain things. And there's looking back, I still think there's some of the things that they did were wrong. And there's still people that I feel like won't admit that they did wrong, even though they did. But I look at lessons they taught me while I was at Valley Station and are like, I disagree with what you did and how you did it. But there are still past things you taught me that I appreciate you for. So
it's getting over those.
We're getting choked up a little.
Yeah.
So. Every time I think of Valley Station, I get kind of choked up. So
yeah,
no, absolutely, I understand. It's and I was gonna say, even people that I've seen on Facebook that aren't with us anymore. People that we were in high school with that they're not around anymore. They're not around. Whether something tragic or obviously. At our age, you wouldn't expect anybody to be passing, and so it's nice to see those people pop up in your memories or pop up after the year of chaos and insanity that we've had, and just kind of reminisce and know that you got to keep trudging forward. Life moves on, and again, time heals those wounds, but sometimes people come. We've talked about this on the show before, and I think it was a relationship segment. Some people are in your life only for a season. But every once in a while, when that season is remembered or that time in your life is you recollect and you start to think, oh, wow, all right, now I understand why it was so important that they were in my life to begin with. I think that's really what gave me pause when I was thinking about this subject and thinking about those people this week, especially during Thanksgiving and this time of the year, because it's so divine in such a way that you could never think of in the moment when they're in your life, how it's going to impact you or how it's going to play a bigger role down the road. And then you get to that point and you're like, and you realize just how insanely amazing and what a blessing it is to have those people and to have had God put those people in your life.
Well, it also shows you that what you're doing now, here and now, is going to have an impact on someone later.
Yeah.
So
You can hope,
It's, knowing the impact that those people, the other people that poured into us besides our immediate families, knowing how much of an influence they had on us, we should also take pause and look at the way that we do things and say things.
Think about whether that impact you're leaving.
Think how that's going to impact those around us.
Yeah.
in their
positive
future.
or negative.
Right.
Yeah. And absolutely. No doubt.
Maybe someday somebody be sitting around saying, "Man, I'm really thankful for
Those podcast guys.
those podcast guys." The Porta Pot podcast.
Yeah.
Those Red Moon Porta Pots, I mean, they make a good movie podcast.
I was going to say, they saved me that one time. I was driving down the highway and I had to go.
Yeah.
And the only thing was a construction site that had a porta
I saw
potty.
it in my headlights. It was like divine intervention.
And Red Moon stepped in and saved the day.
You never know.
That's
there
right.
could be someone out there who's just this depressed mess, and we're the joy that they get every week that's keeping them going.
I think that's our UK listener.
Yeah.
They've been there since day one, and it's great.
I don't know who's
and
over
we're
it.
thankful for them. Thank God.
That UK guy's like,
Yeah.
I don't know who the hell Kyle Rittenhouse is, but that was a good podcast.
I don't know who that guy
Who's
is,
Kyle
but
Rittenhouse?
they have. That UK listener's been there
mystery.
forever.
From the very get-go, I'm telling you, tuned in.
I am thankful for them.
Absolutely. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. A wave of emotions this week.
Did we lose the one that was in Africa? We had one because remember we made the joke about A&W and all. Yeah,
But I think that had something to do with
it's
like
because they never got their A&W and they're probably pissed. They're like,
well, I think that had something to do with like African
Brandon
war
wanted,
crimes.
Brandon wanted
Yeah.
fresh A&W on the tap, and then we were talking about the guy who listened to us in Africa, and I was like, do they have A&W in Africa? And
We always wondered.
maybe he got pissed because he was like, that's either
A&W is probably a tribe in Africa.
It could be.
There's the Hutus and the Tutsis and the A&Ws.
That's right. Oh, there she is.
Yeah.
She made an appearance. She always makes an appearance.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because there's that meme of like there being a Taco Bell and the pyramids are outside, and we were wondering like, well, isn't there an A&W? Can I sip some root beer by a pyramid? Just wondering.
Maybe. I don't know.
Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. Again, a wave of emotions. We're glad you stuck with it through us. Stuck with us through it. Sorry, got my words mixed up.
Stuck through it with us.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. But no, we are thankful for every one of our listeners and viewers every single week here on the Red Moon Podcast.
Yeah.
And you can always reach out to us.
We
right
appreciate every single one of you.
Absolutely. Right there at the bottom of your screen, Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Pics, and just search for us on
Even
Red
those
Moon
of you
Productions
we
on
disagree
YouTube.
with and think are idiots, we won't tell you we think you're idiots, but we appreciate you.
No, we do. We tell it straight to their face.
These people in Hollywood, we just told them they were
How is
idiots.
that? We don't
They're
mince.
not listening
Except for
to
Chris
us.
Pratt. He's not an idiot.
If they agree
Please,
with
if
these
you're
Hollywood
watching,
celebs, then
If
we
you're
just
writing,
told
we
them
want
straight
you.
to their face.
We want you on the show.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Come
I
on.
want you on the show.
we say it at
He
a
wants
large
you
scale.
more
We
than
don't
that.
single. I didn't mean we didn't let them know how we felt about that. I just mean we didn't go, okay, use this person right here with username this is an idiot. We won't single you out. But just know we think
Depends.
you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do that.
There's one I can think of.
We do that on our tape show in a couple weeks. So pay attention to that.
We never
Yeah.
name anybody.
We don't name drop.
That's what I'm saying. We don't single someone out by name.
When you only have one comment, it's pretty easy to use deductive reasoning to figure out who that is.
Yeah, that's fine as long as you don't use their name.
Alrighty, guys. You can also email us that old-fashioned way of communication. Right. RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com. Thank you all again so much for tuning in this week and every week. Again, go out there, tell the loved ones that you know that you're thankful for them, and be appreciative of them this week. And, of course, partake in some turkey, enjoy some great food. We hope everyone has a wonderful holiday and happy Thanksgiving. Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and that's going to do it for this episode. See y'all next time.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.